On Saturday in the state of Texas, a Democrat, local union leader, and first-time political candidate Taylor Remmett won a special election for Texas state legislature, defeating his Republican opponent by 14 points. In a district, Trump won by 17 points just over a year ago. That is a 31-point swing toward Democrats in just 14 months. And then there's even more numbers. There's, of course, the polling. It's really hard, really hard, I can promise you, to win in a swing district when the leader of your party has an approval rating in the 30s. It just is. And look at that. That's a couple of polls there on your screen. That's his approval rating. And all of that and more was probably on Trump's mind yesterday when he decided to catch up with a disgruntled former employee, the podcaster turned deputy FBI director turned podcaster again, Dan Bongino. And Trump sat down for an interview with Bongino, or the Podfather, as Bongino calls himself. And in the middle of a discussion about crime and immigration, Trump suddenly said this.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Okay, so you could probably hear that pretty well. We put it on the screen just in case, but that is Donald Trump saying he wants Republicans to take over and nationalize voting in at least 15 places. And it certainly would not be just 15 places if he were to do this. Now, while the federal government is allowed to make general laws about voting, the Constitution specifically gives the states control over elections. So having the federal government, and I would note the Trump-controlled federal government, take control of elections would be a wild anti-democratic power grab. And it's not like it was a slip of the tongue or he just said it once off the cuff. I mean, he kept talking about it.
What exactly did you mean when you said that you should nationalize elections, and which 15 states are you talking about?
I want to see elections be honest, and if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. Go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out. Rigged, crooked elections. If we have areas, take a look at Detroit, take a look at Pennsylvania, take a look at Philadelphia. You go take a look at Atlanta. Look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections. And the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved.
A state is an agent for the federal government in elections? Okay. Now, we all know Trump didn't like the outcome in 2020, and he wants the federal government to take over the elections in predominantly Democratic cities. Those are the ones he mentioned, because the federal government he runs, in his mind, will make sure it works out the way he wants. And yes, the truth is Trump has been fixated on this issue for a very long time. But what is different now is that Trump has, well, a whole lot of lackeys in his administration who want to please daddy and are willing to follow through on his election takeover plans. I mean, last week we saw these extraordinary images of Trump's director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, looking on, lurking, I will say, creepily, as FBI agents seized boxes and boxes of 2020 ballots from officials in Fulton County, Georgia. And today, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution published body camera footage from the local police officers on the scene during that raid. And it shows just how completely chaotic and haphazard that search really was.
So did anybody get a physical copy of the search warrant?
No.
When did they get here?
About 12:30.
Just unannounced?
Unannounced.
What's happening now is that their warrant is wrong. It had the wrong, it's not in elections possession, it's in clerk's possession, so it had the wrong department.
So on our end, nobody received a copy of?
The attorneys asked them for it, they finally gave them a copy. Then the attorney's like, it's wrong, so they're allegedly waiting for the judge to update it.
So, I mean, that's some of it. You could confuse police and confuse local officials, agents demanding access despite having the wrong warrant for the wrong facility. All while the director of national intelligence, who is supposed to have no role in domestic law enforcement, was just standing by, lurking in her cap. Now, in the days after that raid, Trump's DOJ initially tried to pretend like there was nothing weird at all about Trump's director of national intelligence showing up in person at an FBI raid. I mean, on Friday, when Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche was asked about Tulsi Gabbard's presence, a perfectly reasonable question we all wanted the answer to, he acted like it was a crazy thing for a reporter to ask.
Could you please explain Tulsi Gabbard's role in DOJ activity regarding the Fulton County search?
What do you mean her role?
It was reported that
She happened to be present in Atlanta. I mean, yes, I saw the same photos you did. I mean, she doesn't work for the Department of Justice or the FBI.
What do you mean her role? Yeah, we all were wondering why the Director of National Intelligence was there. According to him, she just happened to be there. She was in the neighborhood, thought she'd pop by and take in a nice FBI raid or something like that. I mean, that was obviously not true. And this week, Gabbard herself confirmed it, writing in a letter to Democrats on the House and Senate Intelligence Committees that, quote, "My presence was requested by the president." There you go, Todd Blanche. And that's consistent, of course, with the Wall Street Journal's reporting that Gabbard has been assigned a new role, studying information about voting machines, analyzing data from swing states, and pursuing theories that President Trump has promoted to claim the 2020 election was unfairly taken from him. Then there was also Todd Blanche's attempt on Sunday to downplay Trump's role in the seizure of Georgia ballots.
The president told reporters, quote, "They got into the votes. You're going to see some interesting things happening." What interesting things is he talking about, and why was he so involved in an FBI and DOJ raid?
Well, just because he said that doesn't mean that he's involved. I don't believe he was involved.
I don't know what happened there. I think he may have gone cross-eyed for a second when Vanna asked him a very reasonable question. Well, his answer also turned out to be false. We have since learned that the president was not only involved in the raid, but in an extraordinary and unusual turn of events, he was actually in touch with Tulsi Gabbard and spoke to the FBI agents who conducted the search via speakerphone, all according to the New York Times. The president of the United States is not supposed to be in direct communication with FBI agents about their investigations, which are supposed to be independent of political influence. But none of that seems to have bothered FBI Director Kash Patel, who thought the whole thing was awesome, super rad.
To hear from the commander-in-chief for my troops on the ground there was a pretty cool thing, and we were pleased to hear the president come in and say thank you for what you're doing. That is maybe unusual from prior administrations, but I take it every chance I get.
Pretty cool the way the president just broke with decades of FBI protocol there, Kash Patel. Pretty cool. He's the commander-in-chief in there. Wait, what did Patel call him? His troops on the ground? And this isn't just a run-of-the-mill investigation. They were seizing voting data about an election Trump claims he won so that he can justify putting in place more restrictive voting measures in advance of the midterms. That's what's happening here. Now, in a normal world, that would be something that congressional leaders of both parties would push back on. And I will give Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune just a teeny tiny bit of credit here. Today, he said that he is, quote, not in favor of federalizing elections, okay? Though he also attempts to explain away Trump's comments, saying the president was just talking about restrictive voter ID legislation, which is bad enough, but the president was not talking about that. Yet there's still much more pushback from the Senate Majority Leader than we got from little Mike Johnson, who decided to just embrace Trump's election conspiracies with open arms. He is going to get a special White House cookie for this one.
What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No, because it happened so far upstream.
That conspiracy theorist just happens to be second in line to the presidency. And as crazy as his comments were today, they're also not particularly surprising from him, because after all, it was Congressman Mike Johnson who played a key role trying to help Trump overturn the election in 2020 by organizing a lawsuit on Trump's behalf. And that's sort of the point here. Trump is now surrounded by people who will indulge his worst impulses on this. I mean, his director of national intelligence has been tasked with proving claims of foreign interference. His DOJ has seized ballots from a key county in Georgia, and Trump's already talking about nationalizing elections. The thing is, we already know what this might look like because we saw him contemplate a version of this playbook back in 2020. After losing that election, Trump wanted to use the U.S. military to seize voting machines and all other voting records from the states. In fact, there was a draft executive order directing the Pentagon to do just that. It ordered the Secretary of Defense to seize, collect, retain, and analyze all machines, equipment, electronically stored information, and material relating to the 2020 election. Now, the basis for that order, unsurprisingly, was a proverbial grab bag of conspiracy theories, all alleging international and foreign interference in the 2020 election. And in an echo of what we're seeing today, the Director of National Intelligence would have had a key role in overseeing the findings from that operation. Thankfully, that executive order was never issued. Trump was essentially talked out of the whole idea. But just last month, he told the New York Times that he regretted it. I should have done it, he said. And now it appears he's got a second chance to try to use that playbook.